Yo, yo, yo. What up? Sorry, I know the starting soon screen was up for a little bit there, a few minutes. Not normally a thing. Technical difficulties. Okay. But I think we're good. Cool. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well. And ready to rock. We got video gaming news for December 17th this morning, and then we'll play some more BG3 with our dude Pinky. Cool. So hope everybody's ready for it. Let's go ahead and do what we do, man. Let's dive in here and take a look at what we got for the world of video games. Stay current, see what's going on, and then we'll segue into playing BG3 for the rest of the day. Let's go. Yeah. I mean, 2023 didn't just set the bar for sequels. I mean, 2023 set the bar for... I think this is the thing. Excuse me. Expectations from us moving forward for like this year has kind of set the table for us for what to expect, or what a lot of people are going to expect anyways, as far as just the quality of game releases moving forward. Yeah, if we don't have, just a plethora of high 80s and 90s rated games consensus, I mean, is the year going to be a total loss after having this year? Maybe. I don't necessarily feel like that, because I feel like this year is more of an anomaly. It's kind of a freak occurrence to have this many just absolutely incredible games come out. But I think to some people is going to say, yo, this can be done. This is a thing. This is what we should expect, But if history has told us anything, it's not to expect this, I think. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but... Looking like a bleak video gaming news segment this morning so far. Yeah, I'd kind of hit on this. It's not like this is the first game to kind of show this. Big difference between critics and gamers. There's like a 1 rating gap, a 1 point rating gap. We'll pull it up, we'll talk about it. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown campaign set to be double the length of Assassin's Creed Mirage. Okay. Elodie Games' upcoming social co-op RPG excuse me, is now an extraction game called Seekers of Skyville. Why does that sound familiar? Have we talked about this? Let's pull this up. Let's take a look. See if this refreshes our memory, if this is something totally new for us. Let's see what we got. We'll find out the Hellblade 2 rumor whenever we get something substantial, not, you know, rumor mill crap. PlayStation and Xbox are incompetent, and gamers deserve better. Before I even read this, I'm going to say gamers can have better by playing on PC. I know that's not everybody's, you know. A lot of people like console because it's a very static, a very plug and play kind of device. But in my opinion, it's a much better gaming world all the way around for consumers than this console world that has been made for gamers. Really. Let's see what they're trying to focus on here specifically.
I just flipped a switch. I got diamonds on my wrist. Flexing on these haters 'cause the haters
Uh-oh. Oh, dude, this is quite the conversation to be had here.
Just like that on my wrist. Got racks on racks on racks. My pockets never miss. My cash is in 2 banks 'cause one bank ain't enough.
So,
I spend it on my home.
Nintendo games are reportedly increasing in price with Switch 2. Here's by how much.
We stacking up our cash.
Let's pull this up.
Never go stop.
The reason this is interesting is because Nintendo has already started raising its prices on, and has already said that it was going to be raising its prices on its most popular IPs.
Designers on our backs.
Most notably, you know, their first party titles, you know, anything that has to do with like Mario or, you know, The Legend of Zelda. I mean, you name it, things like that. You're going to get a $70 price tag now, which unfortunately has become the norm in over the past year in the video gaming industry, right? For us as consumers. But here is why this is such a brutal thing to hear from Nintendo. So, at least on other platforms, games consistently go on sale fairly quickly. Yeah. Even a proprietary game on another platform will usually go on sale within the first 6 months to a year. Now, then you go look at Nintendo, and you're lucky to occasionally get a sale where those games might be $10 off, but they always go back to retail. Always go back to retail price. You go look at, I mean, you can historically look at this. This is something that I'll give you a very popular title from them. Mario Kart 8 was a game that wasn't even built for the Switch. It was ported to the Switch. It was originally released about 9 years ago on the Wii U. That game still sells for full price today. That's what Nintendo does, as well as makes people double dip all the time by not giving you the games you already own on the previous generation. If they port those games over to the next generation of console, they're like, oh, well, sorry, you know, there's no you know, compatibility with the new hardware, you're going to have to repurchase that, which is disgusting. Yeah. There's no way for us to confirm that you actually own this on this platform. When there absolutely is. They're really gross like that. Nintendo has been this way for a very long time, and at least again with other platforms, at least you end up getting a inevitable price reduction on those games after they've been out for a while. Nintendo, you might get a sale here and there during like a big sell time of the year or something like that, but they always go back to retail price. Always. And they stay there. New Steam game is the the number 3 highest rated game of 2023 with a 95 on Metacritic, huh? Let's see what this is. Gaming Bible can get wrecked.
It's time to get up off your knees and get up on your feet. I just want to see you dance. Work your body to that beat. It's time to get up off your knees and get up on your feet. I just want to see you dance.
Let's go ahead and talk about this. That way I don't forget about it. But look, we've got just over 3 days left before the giveaways happen. The daily giveaways, 2 weeks of daily giveaways on Epic, meaning that you literally have to get in here every single day. There's a 24-hour period to grab free games before they cycle in and out. So in 3 days, this will start. A new product will be free. And then the next following day, that product will no longer be available to grab for free, and a new one will take its place for a 2-week period. Everybody should be getting ready. Everybody that's part of this community that hangs out here should have already heeded my advice by creating an account, grabbing your free titles. There's no reason not to. There really isn't. And besides being stubborn about not wanting to have games on another platform, I mean, you know, if personally, I'll just chalk that up to your loss, really. I know that having games on another platform isn't necessarily fun, but in this expensive world of gaming that we live in, you can get a bunch of really, really good free games for PC. So there's really not any reason not to do this. A free account on Epic and then free games. Right now, you can get a bunch of DLC. They kind of kicked this off with a week-long event for free. You can get the Destiny 2 Legacy Collection, which is about 3 of their DLC that get you a really nice jump start on the Destiny 2 experience. If you look in here, you can actually, you have to have the base game in your account first before you can grab this, but there's a link right here. Click to get here to get the Destiny 2 base game for free. It'll take you there. You grab that, then you come back here and you get this for free. Gives you the Witch Queen, Beyond Light, and Shadowkeep DLCs for free. It's pretty good stuff. If you've been looking to play Destiny 2, then this is a good time to start playing it. But in 3 days, this is going to go away, and then the mystery games start, which is a 24-hour rotation of free titles for 2 weeks. And they give away absolute bangers, man. They give away great titles, and there's no reason not to be grabbing this stuff. Even if you're not a PC gamer right now, you could be in the future. And if you just heed my advice and go ahead and create an account, get in here and start grabbing these free games while they're available, you'll have a lot of really good titles to select from to start playing whenever you do potentially start becoming a PC gamer, okay? Grab your free content. It makes sense. It only makes sense. Oh, we vibing. Got those Sunday vibes, dude. There's some GameStop deals right now if anybody's interested. I'm not a big fan of that company, but we'll see what they've got going on. Greedy Realms has been hit with layoffs as Embracer continues to just slaughter their subsidiaries. Nice. Not nice. I'm being sarcastic there. Put a /S in there. Oh, we'll take a look though. Looks like Activision Blizzard is finally settling their gender discrimination lawsuit that has been ongoing since like 2019, 2020 for about 54 million. They probably should have to pay way more than that, to be honest, but I'm so done. Look, I'm not reading into any more of this Knights of the Old Republic remake bullcrap until something substantial comes out of either Saber or Aspire out from underneath Embracer or Sony or Disney. But we just keep getting nonsense, man. And this seems to be more of it, really. Naughty Dog's probably working on The Last of Us Part 3, probably. We've heard, they've basically stated they're working on multiple single-player titles right now. The Last of Us Part 3, it's pretty good notion. They're probably, The Last of Us Part 3 is probably one of those, right? We talked about this yesterday. One X player has a new handheld coming out. It's going to be like a 3-in-1. You can it's going to have like removable controllers, kind of like a Switch. It is going to have a detachable keyboard, so it can act like a tablet. It can act like a handheld console. It can act like a kind of mini PC. But the difference here being that this is going to be a player in the handheld console realm of gaming right now that is touting an Intel APU as opposed to an AMD APU. So we'll see how that plays out once it releases, how it stacks up. Most other handhelds are utilizing AMD's processors. Wait, what? No way, this is so dope. Dota 2's banning players by gifting them lumps of coal, dude. Insane. Yo, random mode time. Let's go, guys. All right, let's dive in here. Let's dive into these. Let's see what we got. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora reviews show big difference between critics and gamers. It's not as big of a contrast as I've seen other games have, but I'll read this and I'll give you my own interpretation of what's going on here. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is being received by fans quite differently from critics. Avatar IP is one of the biggest franchises in all of entertainment. Nah, is it? No, not really. No. I think Cade Onder is actually a big Avatar fan here. Right out the gate, dude, this is the impression I get. It's not one of the biggest franchises. It's not. It's just not. Despite the fact it's only made up of 2 movies, a small number of comics, and most recently a video game. Pretty light compared to Marvel, Star Wars, other big IPs, but it's dominated the box office and cemented itself as a monumental piece of pop culture. Avatar took a significant amount of time off between the first and second movies, allowing for a 13-year gap with no Avatar media in between. Now, here we are a decade and a half later, and Avatar seems to be trying to position itself as a regular mainstay in our culture, with movies every few years, games, and more. Yeah, this month, Ubi released long-awaited Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, because long-awaited, it was supposed to release alongside the movie last December. The game has been in the works for years. Ubi been pretty hush about it until this year when it began to show off gameplay. The immediate instinct was to compare it to Ubisoft's FPS franchise Far Cry, and while that isn't totally invalid, it is pretty different. Frontiers of Pandora also closed out a massive year for gaming, possibly one of the biggest ever. It doesn't appear to be dominating the sales charts in the same way the movies clean up at the box office. It was met with a decent reception from critics, but hardly anything that would push anyone to go buy it if they were on the fence. Nevertheless, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is being well received by players. The game is currently sitting at an 8.1 user score on Metacritic, which is a big jump from the 72 average it received from critics. That's not that far off. They're reaching here, dude. Okay, they're reaching here. We'll pull up some different comparisons here on Metacritic, and we'll take a look. You get variance. You get variance in the difference between critic reviews and user reviews, and there are reasons why that can happen. Okay. And I'll tell you why. One of the big differences in why it would happen with a game like this is because there's going to be a bit of bias, especially on the part of people that are really interested in playing this game are going to be big Avatar fans. So there are going to be some of these people that are like, oh man, this game's, they're potentially going to give it a better review than maybe it necessarily would if you weren't a fan of this IP. But it's not like that's a rarity, right? But I'm just pointing something out. Comicbooks.com review seems to align more with the users. However, we gave it a 4 out of 5 and noted that despite an unengaging story, the world, gunplay, and overall themes of the environmentalism really shine and make it one of the better shooters of 2023. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora successfully immerses players into James Cameron's multi-billion-dollar franchise, easily one of the most beautiful sci-fi worlds I have ever had the pleasure of exploring, and ensures that when it's threatened, you'll feel the desire to protect it. So let's take a look at this, and let me just say this. An 8.1 user score or a 72 average critic rating equates to a 7.2 critic rating as opposed to an 8.1 user score, or you can vice versa that. It's not that far off. It is, there is a difference, and I say this all the time. A low 70s score on Metacritic is a quite different experience than a low 80s score on Metacritic. Usually you can count on that. If you're looking at like a consensus rating of like a low 70 score to a low 80 score, that does note quite a different experience in a game. But it's not like this game was getting a 5 from critics and an 8 from users. Okay, it's not a massive difference or anything like they're trying to almost play it off like here in this article. Let me pull up some Metacritic here and let's take a look at some stuff. So, quite often there is variance in reviews between critic ratings and user ratings. Now, let me also say something here. One of the reasons this will happen also is because critics review these games on release. And traditionally, games tend to be, even finished games, a little bit more buggy on release than they are maybe a month, few weeks after release, right? So user scores tend to, even if they start off on the same level as a critic scores don't continue to increase after release. Really, where user scores will. You'll continue to get user reviews and ratings on these games after they've had a little bit more patching, they feel a little bit better. So the score will usually go up. It trends up a little bit more on the user score side of things, which is sometimes why you will see a bit of variance in the difference between a critic score and a user score on something like Metacritic, right? This game has not been out that long. It's only been out like a week and a half now, so that doesn't really come into play largely here, okay? But I'm just trying to point something out. Again, this is like 0.9 points away from each other. It's not significant. It's notable, but it's not as big of a difference as it feels like they're trying to make it, okay? Now, the other thing, like I said before, I think that when you take a look at how many people have reviewed this game, and you're going to have to understand that anytime a game like this comes out that is based off of an already existing piece of entertainment IP, there are going to be a lot of people that play it are going to be people that are fans of these universes, right? So those kinds of people tend to be a little bit love struck, if you will, a little bit blind in regards to rating these kinds of things. They overlook, and it's not intentional quite often, but it happens. They overlook the issues that a game might have because they're just so enamored by being able to dive into a universe that they love so much. It is just a part of it. It's the way it works. So For critics probably had a bit of I would assume here a little bit more of an unbiased process of reviewing this game, whereas users might have had a bit of a they might have had some blinders on here, if you will, where they felt like this game was maybe a little bit better than it actually is at its core, just because it's Avatar. There's always a bit of that, and so I think that it's a respectable game, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect it to be this notable. Yeah, exactly, Pinky. That's what I'm saying. And like I said before, dude, I don't know if you were in here whenever I said this. I mean, a difference between like a low 80 score and a low 70 score for me. I've already talked about that too, dude. I'm getting ready to try to bring up some examples here. This article, I don't know when you got here, dude. I don't know how much of this you've heard. That's already stuff I've been pointing out. Yeah. Good morning, dude. What's up? There is a difference. It's not a huge difference, but there is a difference. Like 20 seconds ago, yeah. So you're literally, dude, talking about the same exact notions, dude, that I've been talking about already on this. This article is why I brought it up. This article is because, look at the title of this, dude. It's big difference between critics and gamers. It's not that big of a difference, right? I already read through this article, and that's why I'm bringing it up and I'm talking about it, because it's not a big difference. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yo, is that a good indicator for how the day is going to go? Yeah, good sign. Yeah, bro. That's what I'm hoping, dog. That's what I'm hoping, baby. Yeah. So there is a difference between, like a low 80s scored game and a low 70s scored. A low 80s scored game is going to be a pretty memorable experience for somebody, whereas a low 70s rated game is usually going to be entertaining enough, but it's not going to be something that probably is real memorable for you, right? So there's a difference between those scores, but it's not massive. That's what I said before too, man, before you got here. It's not like there's like a 2 to 3 point gap here. It's not real noticeable. It's a little, right? You're literally, dude, like talking about the same exact notions that I have about this same thing. And I'm gonna bring up some. There's always a little bit of variance, right? But I do think people here, the user scores, I think, are probably skewed a little bit high, just because people probably had a little bit of some blinders on. I am impressed. I didn't think Ubi was gonna be coming out with anything notable here, to be honest with you. I mean, it's Ubi, dude. They don't do a lot of anything anymore outside of their norm, to be fair. They're not very good at doing anything outside of like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Just Dance, like Tom Clancy stuff. It's so, for the fans of this game, I'm glad that they're enjoying it, but I don't think this is a real notable kind of difference here. Now we can go look at some other games, and I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head that had a much different meta score than, like, let's just see what they're giving us here. Don't they usually? Yeah. There were some. There's always some games where there's quite a big difference in the. Let's go here. Let's take a look here. What do we have? Let's just pull some of these up and see what the difference is between like some notable games. Starfield, dude, that's a great one right there, I think. Yeah, let's look at Starfield, dude. Yeah, this is one we see. Like, I mean, this is an even bigger difference. And here, this is another thing to point out, right? This is another thing to point out. So, funny enough, this is like the other side of the coin, right? So you get critics. No, I've looked at this before. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. That's like I said, dude, I don't think Starfield's a bad game. I just don't think it's for everybody. Here's the difference, though. You get an 83 as a critic review, but you get a 7 on user reviews, right? And now you also, I mean, you have to take into consideration also, this Starfield has 11,000 more reviews, user reviews, than something like Avatar does. You know, that's a much larger baseline of like, or data set for reviews. You know, there's obviously going to be some 10s that need to be thrown out. There's going to be some 0s that need to be thrown out. But that's how you get to this baseline, right? So I don't think this is a bad game. I've said that the whole time. I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't think it's... That was actually a good recommendation to pull this up. I haven't looked at it in probably, I don't know, week and a half or two. But it is the other side of it, right? Where critics tend to... Like, how many of those critics are in cahoots with Microsoft, you know? Because this does seem to be something where users are a bit under what critics tend to think about this game. What's that other critic site? Open Critic, dude. I can't ever remember the name of this. So let's look at Starfield on here, dude. I'm not used to this one, so it feels a little bit different looking at it, but here. I mean, dude, Games Radar Plus, 5 out of 5, really? You thought this game was perfect? You thought this game was perfect? You thought this game was a 5 out of 5? Come on, man. Nothing says that either you're being paid off by Microsoft and Bethesda or you're just like you're trying to suck up like that right there. You know, the rest of these are respectable, you know, but come on, man. But I think this is why I like the Metacritic more, because you get to see user reviews and everything too. This just gives you like the... I thought they had user reviews on here also, though. This isn't far off. They have this at like an 85, or a top critic average. Critics recommend 85 to an 84, yeah. So, I don't know. But there's usually a variance. There's usually a little bit of a difference between a critic review and a user review score. Sometimes it's closer. Sometimes it's pretty far apart, you know? Oh, I'll give you one, dude. Look at this. There you go. There you go. How about that? Nothing says, you know, this is one of those occasions where like nothing says, yo, we don't want to talk crap about a game, like giving something on release as unfinished, as unpolished as Jedi Survivor, and 85 across the board from critics, when this game was a complete piece of unfinished trash on release. And it's getting better reviews across the board from users now because they've actually taken time. I mean, look when this game released, dude. They're actually finally getting this game to a point of where people can play it, but it's taken almost 3/4 of a year. But this is quite a difference here, right? Again, it's the other side of the coin. Critics are way higher than users, but I mean, this isn't something unheard of for like. And especially not even a point away. They were really reaching here for something to, like, write about, dude, for sure. Really reaching. I don't know. Prince of Persia, Overwatch. Oh, Jesus, dog. Yeah, we could look at that. Here, hold on. Dude. Bro. You want to look at a difference, dude. I mean, this gives you a good idea of, like, critics not wanting to actually say anything bad about a company, right? Let's be fair, there are going to be a lot of reviews here that aren't actually talking about gameplay, though. There are going to be a lot of reviews here talking about how bad this game is compared to, like, why is it Overwatch 2? Why what was the point here? Why did they change the game from what it was? Like, you know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. People blasting them Blizzard out of the water for not giving them things they promised. You know, there's a lot of reasons why. I think that the gameplay here in this game is solid, but there's a lot of things that Blizzard has done to just decimate the fan base of this game, right? Whereas Overwatch 1 was more like respectable. Yeah. This has probably been getting bombed here lately too, though. I don't even know if you can still review it or not, but yeah, that was a good one to look at, man. Yeah, good call. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown campaign is set to be double the length of Assassin's Creed Mirage. So, new details have come to light. The uprising of the prince seemed to have begun. It's been a long while since fans were offered an upgraded take on the iconic Prince of Persia universe. Yeah, quite a while. Moreover, for a lot of fans, the revival of the forever classic franchise has been one trending request. Thus, the announcement of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown had gamers all invested as the new world unfolded. Now, the release of The Lost Crown is just around the corner, and there are signs pointing to the gameplay link. Ubi has been on a roll this year, from Assassin's Creed Mirage to Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. The developers have impressed. I think that's a, that's going to be a subjective kind of take there. I'm not real impressed by Ubi right now, but, you know, to each their own. However, the announcement of Prince of Persia: The Stolen Crown brought a newfound spotlight to the makers. Of course, all the veterans of the franchise are excited to catch what the makers have to offer with the revival. Fortunately, The Lost Crown hasn't disappointed yet with every official glimpse. In fact, campaign size of the project suggests fans would have a lot to explore in the Persian Kingdom, even more than what Ubisoft had to offer in their recent major entry in the AC franchise. The earlier previews for the new Prince of Persia are out and have already fueled the hype built around the Ubisoft project. The expectations were already set high, but with some promising early previews, the buzz around the game couldn't get any better. Moreover, after the developers unveiled the campaign size, it has the fans wondering what else they could expect from the innovative side-scroller. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown single-player campaign is 35 hours long or less if you don't focus on exploration. That's pretty good, man. Not bad. In fact, the size of the campaign is double that of Assassin's Creed Mirage, makes you even more invested. Ubisoft's last AC installment, Mirage, being another celebrated game, Homecoming, was around 15 hours in length, yeah. Which is why they also, I think, decided not to sell that game at like a full AAA price, though. So that's going to be something to look at, though. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, if it's got this much content, you probably need to expect this game to be at more of a AAA price tag. Whereas I think AC Mirage was more like $50 US. And I think the reason they did that is because it wasn't as long as most people would expect a AAA game to be. Yeah, when compared to the previous Prince of Persia installments, the number is incredible. The last major entry, The Forgotten Sands, offered no more than 10 to 10 and a half hours. And that's for completionists. Also, coming back to what the early previews of the game suggest, this new Prince of Persia title might be everything the fans needed for the long-lost revival. From all the gameplay reveals Ubi made for the next Prince of Persia project, it was certain the developers were coming heavy. In fact, in a lot of aspects, the visuals felt like a huge leap from current industry standards of side-scrolling adventures. It is expected to take a delightful new turn thanks to its more stylized appearance and embrace of Persian mythology. Early gameplay teases for the Lost Crown suggest it may also revolutionize the side-scrolling game narrative. Really? Let's take a look.
Exciting encounters, technical fights, challenging platforming, and so much more.
Anybody else
this
has it?
is what you can expect
okay.
in Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. You play as Sargon, one of the immortals, sent by Queen Tomiris.
Step forward, Sargon.
On a quest to save the abducted Prince of Persia trapped in a mysterious land stuck between time and dimensions.
Something is not right here. We must proceed with caution.
Explore Mount Kaf and its ancient city. A non-linear interconnected world filled with dangers,
I mean,
secrets,
I'll be completely honest.
treasures,
Like, I'm actually,
and unbeaten
this is
paths
like
to discover.
one of those. It looks very
Sargon's agility
Metroidvania,
lets
you
you
know.
move fluidly through the world, overcoming
Which
its
I'm all
numerous
about,
traps
dude.
and obstacles. Several paths will be blocked to your progress early in the game, though. Keep track of your exploration and come back later after having unlocked the right time powers. Control over time, at the heart of the Prince of Persia franchise, is back in a new way. Over the course of his adventure, Sargon will gather game-changing, time-related powers. Peeking through time to uncover invisible secrets, setting up an echo of Sargon to which you can teleport back, or even capturing elements in a pocket dimension are but a few examples of how your time powers will help you to face
Doug.
the game's challenges. Speaking
Nice,
of,
man.
dozens of threatening undead and mystical creatures roam
Yeah, that's a
Mount
chunk of
Kaf and its
change there.
surroundings. Armed with his
Chunk of some
swords,
data.
Sargon can slash through his enemies and perform impressive juggling combos.
Yeah, that flipping elemental's got a stupidly large.
You can also
bar,
wield a
dude.
powerful bow, greatly enhancing offensive and defensive abilities with its dual purpose.
I wasn't
Combine
even
your attacks
surprised
and
at your
various
point of view,
tools to
'cause I've
perform
dealt with the same
devastating
thing.
combos. And when your ability gauge fills up, unleash Sargon's wrath to wipe enemies out.
The game looks good.
As you progress through the game world,
35 gigs, nice.
you will encounter wak-wak trees, magical beacons that save your progression and let you switch up your abilities and amulets. Abilities are offensive and defensive powers consuming from 1 to 3 charges of your ability gauge. Vary your loadout to stand ready for every challenge the game has to offer. Amulets, on their side, are gear pieces enhancing Sargon's stats and abilities. They go from a weapon upgrade, granting you a ranged area of effect attack, to gameplay modifiers turning slain enemies into unstable explosives, and much more. Mix and match amulets as you progress through the game to create your own ultimate warrior. Mount Kaf is filled with stories and secrets to uncover. So make sure to revisit paths you once thought impossible to explore. Your curiosity will be greatly rewarded. Move quickly across the map with fast travel anchors, and keep track of your exploration with memory shards. A
Map
new
looks
feature
large,
letting you
dude. I
pin
love it.
snapshots of your screen on the overworld map.
I love big
Make
maps
sure
and
to
I
interact
cannot
with
lie.
characters
Your bird has some value to you.
and complete side quests to gain various rewards and resources, giving you the opportunity to grow in power over
I'm
the
actually
course
getting
of your
more and more
adventure
interested
and
in this
further
game,
customize your playstyle. And if you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, make sure to enable some accessibility features, such as the guided mode. Embark on an amazing journey
I think this was
into
a cool way
world
for them to
filled
bring
with
Prince of Persia
excitement
back.
and deadly encounters as you delve further and further into Mount Kaf's mysteries to find. the Prince of Persia.
And it's good to hear like how much time that they're kind of expecting people to be playing in the game. You know, that's pretty. That's a good chunk of change. 35 hours roughly. The game, as promised, will run 60 frames even on Switch. The visuals might not be something extraordinary to the fans, but Ubi creation impresses in combat and storytelling. Not to mention the cinematic cutscenes used in the game add on to the pacing of the narrative. For combat, the project is being held as the big winner. For instance, IGN's preview report states, "The Lost Crown is no joke in the combat department. It harkens back to the original Prince of Persia in that regard. Right from the jump, the bad guys here come out swinging swords, polearms, and plenty of weapons. And you'll need to be quick to parry attacks. Game will launch on January 15th. It already looks like we're in for a treat." Yeah, it does look good, dude. It does. You know, I don't say that very often about Ubi games right now. But I think this game actually looks really solid. Prince of Persia Anime Edition. Yeah. You know, I had friends that used to play the Prince of Persia games back in the day. This is something much different, right? But I like this pivot. Probably because I'm a little bit biased. You know, I thought the old Prince of Persia games were dope. But, you know, I like getting back to this, like, 2.5D Metroidvania platformer kind of take on it. But I love these kinds of games too, so if anybody needs anything out of this. Elodie Games' upcoming social co-op RPG is now an extraction game called Seekers of Skyvale. Haven't we looked at this, dude? I think we looked at this. PvPvE extraction fantasy RPG called Seekers of Skyvale. The studio held its first alpha test for the game back in October, followed by more playtests in November and last weekend, with another one underway as of December 15th, which will be the game's final alpha test of the year. Additionally, tests are set for next year, with more information to be revealed in January of 2024. Elodie Games was founded by former Blizzard Entertainment, BioWare, and Riot Games developers and is backed by multiple investors, including tech-focused venture capital firm Galaxy Interactive. The studio says that it's inspired by several MMOs and online multiplayer games, including World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings Online, League of Legends, Dragon Age, and the Mass Effect series. Safe to say that we can also add Escape from Tarkov to that list because it is an extraction game, right? Let's see here.
Seekers of Skyvale. The Oracore beckons. Step through the veil and begin your adventure.
Yeah, doesn't this just
Your
look like
time
League of
here
Legends?
is limited.
Yeah, just
So make
like
every
League of
minute
Legends
count.
extraction, right?
Hard-fought battles unlock your potential.
Even like the
and
abilities
yield
are just
powerful
League of Legends.
rewards.
It's just
Fill
League
your
of Legends.
bags. But beware, these frontiers are lawless lands.
Extraction-based League of
Cunning
Legends.
enemies won't hesitate to take what you've found, but defeat them, and their treasure is yours. So, will you wager
Even
it
the
all
abilities
on
look
what you
exactly the
seek?
same.
Then join Seekers of Skyvale.
Great job, guys. Way to be real unique there. I'm sorry, but like, come on, dude. It feels so bad. We've seen this. I don't know. Good luck. Good luck. PlayStation and Xbox are incompetent and gamers deserve better. Let's see what they have to say here. Again, whenever I pulled this article up, I mean, for me, it was like, yeah, I don't know. I think that my advice to anybody is work your way into PC gaming. It's an easier segue nowadays than it used to be. You've got handheld devices that are fairly static. They don't, they give you more of that plug and play kind of feel than, having to deal with like a big rig or something like that. And they're very viable solutions to PC gaming, and they give you more of that like Switch vibe to where they'll dual roll for you. You can dock them, play them, use wireless controllers on them, things like that. And honestly, man, I mean, for me, as somebody who has always played across like all platforms and stuff through the majority of my life, especially while being younger, I've just very heavily gotten dissuaded from being in the console side of gaming anymore, because it just feels so scummy. It just feels like they take advantage of consumers so much, and for me, the PC side of things just feels better. Feels like you're taken care of more. You've got more options, and so that's where I've gravitated more towards being, and straying away from the console stuff. But let's see what they're talking about. PlayStation and Xbox are incompetent, and gamers deserve better. A reader is unimpressed by the recent performance of Sony and Microsoft and argues they've done nothing to make 2023 a good year for games. I have to admit, the fact that so many game developers are losing their jobs this year is something that had largely passed me by until this month. Really? Wow, you must have been sleeping under a rock, man. Ironically, it wasn't until people started complaining that the Game Awards had ignored the subject and had given developers too little time to talk on stage that I began to take notice. Then I read GC's excellent article on the current state of the industry and why so many people are being made redundant. It made the point that while all sit back and enjoy this year's bumper crop of games, the people that made them are sitting there fearing for their jobs. Not just indie studios, but everyone from Naughty Dog and Bungie to 343 Industries. It's not the decision makers that caused the problem that are in trouble, just the people that were forced to carry out their orders. That led me to realize that no matter how good this year has been for games, there's two companies that have had virtually nothing to do with it: Sony and Microsoft. The volume of their output this year has been nothing short of pathetic, and their constant mistakes and missteps make you wonder how either of them have made it this far. So Microsoft spent the GDP of a small country, yep, Luxembourg's is 85.51 billion, on buying up developers, and so they've got diddly squat out of it. Sales of the Xbox have gone down this year, not up, and after all the fuss and hype, Starfield turned out to be nothing more than a wet fart of a game. Redfall, Starfield, God, yeah, I feel bad that people actually say that, like, a wet fart of a game, Starfield. And like, there's not a lot of people that were super impressed with it, but I don't think it's the worst thing that's ever been made. Come on, man. I'm not somebody that's like, I've expressed my sentiments about Starfield quite often. It's not something that I'm excited to try or play, therefore I haven't taken a dive into it. But I do have friends that have played it, and I have friends that have gone, it wasn't that great, put it down after about 10 hours. And then I have other people that have put massive amounts of time into it and absolutely loved it. I think a lot of it comes down to, what your expectations were and how much you like the Bethesda recipe. Because it's just Bethesda in space, really. It's a little bit of an evolution for them because it's a modern game, but ultimately that's what it is. Yeah, it's Bethesda space, dude. Space Bethesda. And so if you dig Bethesda games, you'll probably enjoy it. Otherwise, you probably won't. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. But let's also not forget about, like, what another big game release was supposed to be for them in, like, Redfall, which was an absolute piece of trash. So let's not focus on something that was actually, I think, for the most part, decent. It wasn't mind-blowing, Starfield, but it was decent, okay? It's done okay for them. They did have Hi-Fi Rush as well, which they're going to talk about. Hi-Fi Rush was sick. But Redfall, you can't not talk about... You want to talk about a wet fart of a game? Redfall is a wet fart of a game, dude. You can't do this. You can't start off and try to call Starfield a wet fart of a game and not include Redfall in this, first and foremost. That's a miss there by this author, dude. Their best game this year was the digital-only Hi-Fi Rush. I agree. That was a great play by them, and let's just call it what it is. That was a great play by Tango, who is part of ZeniMax and a subsidiary of them, right? So that they barely did any marketing for it, and they somehow managed to make Forza Motorsport even more boring than Gran Turismo. Yeah, Forza Motorsport has a lot of issues too. Admittedly, they are now the world's big. And also, let me note something here. The developers behind Forza are also the ones that are supposed to be making the new Fable game. They've been making Forza games forever, and if they can't even make the game they're normally accustomed to making be entertaining or even polished on release, how are we supposed to expect anything decent out of Fable? People should be reluctant here. They should be hesitant about what Fable's going to be bringing to the table. I hope it's good, but Playground Games is who's making Fable, and that's who's done Forza for a long time now. And if they can't even come out with modern Forza games, which they're accustomed to making, in a good state, what are we supposed to expect out of Fable, man? Come on. Admittedly, they are now the world's biggest publisher by virtue of buying Activision Blizzard, but none of that stuff is exclusive, so that doesn't help Xbox. Just brings in money for Microsoft as a whole. Maybe being on Game Pass next year will help, but nothing else that's ever happened with Game Pass or PS Plus has ever pushed the needle. I don't think there's much reason to expect this to be any different. I think that's a bit short-sighted of a take there about Game Pass. Game Pass is actually an implementation for Microsoft and Xbox that has allowed them to continue to be competitive in the gaming market, in their competitive forces being like the other competitive brands really that stand up to them, obviously in the console side of things being PlayStation and Nintendo. It's not like Game Pass has been just nothing really. Game Pass has been their pivot into finding something inventive and progressive that is changing the gaming industry and has allowed them to remain competitive to stand up against Sony, PlayStation, and Nintendo, you know? So it's not for nothing, dude. Game Pass is changing things. If you look at Game Pass as just a money thing, that's a very short-sighted take in my opinion. Game Pass is changing the way people look at video games, the way they access video games and stuff like that. So I don't think that you can just be like that about it. And to be fair, Xbox and Microsoft are more about getting as many games as possible into as many people's hands as possible, however they can make that happen. Whereas PlayStation and Nintendo are still trying to play that like exclusivity game, you know? Xbox does it to an extent. They do it to an extent, but not on the same front as like Xbox does. Xbox has a different strategy for their business model for gaming. All those tens of billions of dollars, they're still in last place. Jesus. Okay, yeah. And falling with next to no good exclusives and a boss that for a decade now has been promising next year will be the moment things change, even though it never does. Jesus Christ. This is like an Xbox hater right here, dude. So, I'll say something else here. I think, personally, any of these other companies, and they're talking about Phil Spencer right here. Phil Spencer is, any other company would be lucky to have somebody like Phil Spencer at the top of their company. You're talking about an individual that is a good business-minded person, but is also somebody that gamers can relate to. And what do you want, dude? They just finished this acquisition. You can't do that. You can't go, well, they just spent tens of billions of dollars, you know, but they're still in last place. Dude, this is not something that happens overnight, okay? You've got it. It takes time. They're figuring this out, right? This is part of their plan, but everything's got a process, a plan. They finally finished the acquisition. It just happened, right? Like, what, a month and a half ago? So now they're figuring out how to piece together, how to roll out all of this other, you know, all the portfolio they acquired off of Activision Blizzard, you know, how to actually take Activision Blizzard and hopefully turn them back into a respectable company, because they've been trash forever. Really, the big thing they pulled there was the IPs, you know, the portfolios and everything. But they've got to turn those companies into, there's a lot of work to be done here. It's not something that happens overnight, man. You know, so Xbox and Microsoft have had a huge hurdle on their hands with trying to find ways to be competitive, be inventive, compete with these other console manufacturers in the gaming industry, and they are doing it. They are progressing the video gaming industry. And if you think that PlayStation and Nintendo, and let's be fair, Nintendo sits in their little niche kind of area. They've got like this bubble. They got a bubble where PlayStation and Nintendo, or PlayStation and Xbox, haven't really been able to penetrate that. They don't get to like access that. So Nintendo's gonna be okay. But PlayStation is scared right now. And they should be, right? Xbox has a lot of stuff going for them. They are progressing things on their front. They're making people take a different look at what gaming should be, as opposed to the traditional, I buy hardware, I buy proprietary software, which is all PlayStation wants to do. PlayStation doesn't want things to change. If you take a look at the trends over the past like half decade to a decade, really about the past half decade for sure, but maybe a little bit more than that, of what Xbox has done to try to be inventive and progressive, PlayStation is always just stepping in their tracks, dude. Xbox is leading the way, coming up with all these ideas about how to remain competitive, coming up with these great ideas about new things to do for the gaming industry, and then PlayStation goes, oh, well, that is a pretty smart idea. Let's just go ahead and do the same thing Xbox does, you know? Because PlayStation doesn't want to change, and that's why they were so adamantly against this acquisition as well, of Xbox buying Activision Blizzard, because they knew that Xbox getting all of these IPs, all this huge portfolio, was a bad thing for them. It's going to change stuff, but it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. At least Xbox has a boss, though, that isn't scared to appear on camera. I doubt most PlayStation owners have any idea who Jim Ryan is, who is now done anyways, or the fact that he's leaving next year exactly. And it's increasingly looking like he's been booted out, too. Yep. After his plans for a dozen live service games in 3 years was shot down in flames before it even got into the air. This week's announcement from Naughty Dog about the cancellation of The Last of Us Online was absolutely bizarre. And I'll just throw this in here like I've been saying. Naughty Dog deciding to remaster The Last of Us Part 2 3 years after its release is disgusting. That is so gross. Sounded almost like a mutiny, a deceleration of independence from the idea of having to make live service games anymore. 4 years they've wasted on making that game that will never come out, and we can only assume that other Sony developers are in a similar position because they haven't announced anything new in ages either. Bungie's in a bad spot as well. You talk about Sony bought Bungie for what, $4.5 billion, something like that, right? And Bungie's in a bad spot. They're not looking very good. And ultimately, I think that what's going to happen here pretty soon is that, so if you're not aware, Sony bought Bungie, and as long as Bungie maintained certain levels of, performance and profitability, and hit certain thresholds of what the contract said, then they were going to remain independent, right? But that's quickly going down the drain for Bungie. And it is also quickly looking like Bungie is going to be completely taken over by Sony. It doesn't look like it's going to be very far away. Sony has done absolutely nothing this whole year except sit on their hands and release Spider-Man 2, which was in development long before the live service session started. They even managed to release the PlayStation VR 2 in February and not announce one other single new game for it since then, just letting other publishers support it. Not even the PS Vita had it that bad from them. I will note something here, though. Sony does have a first-party studio in Sony Santa Monica that at least they have just released a big or a solid amount of DLC for a very notable game and did it for free in Ragnarok's DLC Valhalla, which came out on the 12th of December. You know, they did that for their fans, and that says a lot. Okay, so no, yeah, I mean, I'm not taking away from what they're noting here about Sony not having done a whole lot this year, but I think it's important to note that, right? Yo, Ferret, what up, dude? I think it's important to note that Santa Monica Studios, who is a first-party studio under Sony, who does all the God of War games, just did a huge thing for their consumers, their fan base, and everything, and just said, "Yo, thank you." That's a notable thing, and it's commendable. You don't see that very often anymore. Sure, I do, dude. It's just quicker now than it used to be. What up, dude? Happy Sunday, man. I remember those naive days when people thought that Sony's silence was some kind of 4D chess game with Microsoft while they were stuck in their legal case over Activision Blizzard, but that wasn't what was going on at all. Just turned out Sony were incompetent fools. They both are, them and Microsoft. Look, man. If I sound angry, it's not out of some sort of fan outrage. I own both consoles. Yeah, you are an outraged fan, yeah. It's because this incompetence is costing people their jobs. Over 9,000 so far this year. While that's not just at Sony and Microsoft, absolutely not. They're supposed to be the leaders of the industry, leading by example. Instead, they just bumble along like a teenager using their parents' credit card and not caring about the consequences at all. This all doesn't fall on Sony and Microsoft. I'm sorry, man. That's not the way this works. Oh, good. Thanks, dude. My throat's kind of jacked this morning, so if I'm sounding good even though my throat's jacked up, that's nice, dude. Thanks. So, yeah, look, man, you can't throw this on individual companies or you can't throw all of this that's happened on these two companies. That's not the way it works. Have they played their part? Absolutely. Have they played their part? No doubt about it. Yeah. But so have so many other large, massive corporations. It's not just, this doesn't just fall on Sony and Microsoft, okay? There's no way 2023 can be considered a great year with these sorts of things going on, but even if you somehow ignore them, none of the positives have anything to do with Microsoft or Sony. The games industry deserves better than these two in charge, and yet apart from Nintendo, who are just happy to do their own thing, there is no alternative. Yes, there is. It's called PC. There is an alternative. Play games on PC. People that think there's no alternative to gaming other than a console are out of their minds. This is such a short-sighted take. I am not a big fan of whoever wrote. Tom Meadows, give me a break, dude. I always used to think that Google and Amazon and whoever else would be even worse than the current status quo, but now I'm not sure that's even possible. This is a very short-sighted take here on a lot of different aspects. I said before I even started reading this, I've been pretty against the console side of gaming for a number of years now. As somebody who has always played across all platforms, console gaming has become so scummy They don't take care of their consumer base. They take advantage of them as often as they can. It's really disgusting. It's just unfortunate, and I can't recommend enough. And I think that it's getting easier and easier that the segue into PC gaming is becoming a more easily accessible thing. You don't have to have a laptop. You don't have to have a big rig. You can get your hands on a moderately priced handheld PC gaming console that is fairly static. You don't have to worry a whole lot about, you know, the ins and outs of an entire PC rig. And it functions very similarly to something like, you know, the Switch. So you can dock it, you can play it on a TV or a monitor or whatever, you can connect controllers to it, wired or wirelessly, you name it. There's a lot of options out there too. So to have somebody want to write an article like they know what they're talking about here, and to just totally disregard the fact that there's an entire other segment of gaming outside of the console world is gross to me. They just totally negated that fact. It's like they wanted to act like if you're not on console, you can't game. That's disgusting, okay? Also, they had some pretty invalid points for me about, like, the whole Xbox, PlayStation thing. They want to act like just because the acquisition of Activision Blizzard is finalized, that Xbox should now be blowing the gaming industry out of the water. It doesn't work like that. It takes time, man. You know, they've got a lot of work on their hands to do with everything that they just acquired. Specifically, trying to turn Activision and Blizzard into respectable companies. That's a big, you know, that's a mountain to climb right there, too. Changing with my skin tone? Yeah, dude, I'm going for that, like, undead look, you know? That's what I've got the colors going. But you know, it's always kind of funny to read these articles that I feel like are pretty short-sighted in a lot of areas for people. And I mean, let me just say this. I think that it started off giving me a pretty good idea of how uneducated this person is whenever this is the first thing they write. I have to admit the fact that so many video game developers are losing their jobs this year is something that I had largely passed me by until the end of the year. It's December. And they're just realizing how many people have lost their jobs in this industry. Sorry, but I don't really feel like this person is somebody that should be writing articles about the gaming industry. Personally, you know, how is this person somebody that's writing articles that are getting published whenever literally everybody that has anything to do with staying current on this industry at all has been talking about how many layoffs there have been in this industry since the beginning of this year. It's been disgusting. And they're even admitting that they had no idea until the end of the year. Is anybody supposed to put any kind of stock into this article at all? Pretty rough, dude. Man. Nintendo games reportedly increasing in price. Oh, dude, here's another one. God dang it. Oh, man. Nintendo games reportedly increasing in price with Switch 2. Here's by how much. Look, when I found this article this morning, I was already just like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm just going to preface this with what I already talked about whenever I found this article in the first place, which is, you know, Nintendo already sits in this weird little bubble where their games never go down in price. They will go on a sale very rarely, right? But Nintendo is some of the worst about, you know, I'll give you an example. There's Mario Kart 8, which, don't get me wrong, is a banger of a game. But Mario Kart 8 is a game that originally came out roughly 9 years ago on the Wii U. That game still sells at a AAA price point after being ported to their new hardware and 9 years later. And it hardly ever goes on sale. It still sells at the same price point that it released at. So, as opposed to other platforms, like every other platform, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, you name it. If a game has been out by, for roughly half a year to a year, it normally decreases in price and kind of stays at that price, right? It'll at least go down a chunk and stay there, and then you'll see sales on it throughout the year and stuff. It's one of those things. Nintendo doesn't do that. You might see a sell on their first party kind of games a couple times a year, maybe 3 times a year, maybe something like that. And it's still, you're just coming down from that original sell, or the original retail price, right? And then Nintendo also has this great thing that they do to all their consumers, which is, oh, well, we just released Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, right? But we got new hardware coming out this coming year, and we know that you bought Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, and we are porting Tears of the Kingdom to our new hardware, which will probably be called Switch 2. But if you want to play it on our new hardware, you're going to have to buy it again. So not only do their games never come down in price, but they also make you double dip all the time, right? Nintendo's disgusting about this kind of stuff. Now we're getting news that they are also increasing the price of their software with their new hardware. Right, Ferret, yeah. So Nintendo Switch 2 games are reportedly going to be more expensive than the current Switch games. Nintendo has yet to officially announce its next console, but according to a plethora of rumors and leaks, it is the successor to the Switch and releasing next year. Yeah, I am expecting this console to be releasing by late summer, early August of next year. Or early fall time next year. And when you consider the massive success of the Switch, this isn't that surprising. That said, while the Switch 2 may end up being similar in concept and design to the current model, it's releasing in a far different and more hostile economy. Out of control inflation has made everything more expensive, including the cost of making and shipping games. It's also devalued the money that is made on the sale of games. As a result, everyone has been increasing the price of their games, minus Nintendo. Nintendo already said that they were going to increase the price of their more popular first-party games. But this is apparently changing. When Nintendo released The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom this year, it charged $70 for it, see? This is the only game it did this with, though. Throughout the Nintendo Switch generation, it never charged more than $60 other than this one time. PlayStation and Xbox only charged $60 during the PS4 and Xbox One generation as well, but increased their ceiling to $70 with the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. And now that Nintendo has its new console, it is reportedly following suit. Look, let's be fair. I mean, really, the $70 price point didn't come about until over about the past year and a half, right? About the past year and a half. The PS5 and Xbox Series X and S have been out for 3 years now. So this whole $70 price point didn't really hit until the past year to year and a half. It's not like the $70 price point has been happening since they released the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. That's not true. That is not true. The prominence of the $70 price point really didn't hit until about a year and a half ago. And that's the exact same time that Nintendo came out and was like, well, we'll probably start doing the same thing. Right? The report comes the way of Nintendo insider Zippo, a fairly well-known and fairly reliable source when it comes to Nintendo. According to the leaker, Nintendo is bumping $60 games to $70. This means major mainline installments in series such as Mario, Mario Kart, Zelda, Fire Emblem, Super Smash Bros., Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Metroid, and others will cost an extra $10 a pop, which you'll never see go down in price hardly. Over the course of an entire console generation, this obviously adds up pretty quickly, so it's a major, albeit unsurprising, development, assuming it is true. Quote, yes, the dreaded day is almost here. It's not something people want to hear, but it's happening, claims Zippo. Yes, Nintendo's next generation games will be priced higher than the last gen by $10. Of course, take this information with a grain of salt, but you probably shouldn't because it's already started happening even by Nintendo, as they said with Tears of the Kingdom, right? Nintendo hasn't commented here, but I have been pretty vocal and upfront about my sentiments about this $70 price point the whole time. The people have gone, oh, well, you know, games haven't raised in price in 20 years, you know, so it's just inflation. Games haven't needed to because the gaming industry has come up with different mechanics and implementations to get money out of us to make up for the fact that games retail off the shelf, right? Haven't gone up. They haven't needed to go up because they do things like release a game and then release DLC a month, 2 months after the game releases when you know that content was available for the game on release, right? Or they do battle passes or season passes, or they do, microtransaction shops, or they do, loot boxes. You name it, dude. You name it. All of them do it. And they all get their money's worth, which is really them getting what they wanted to get out of us without they were actually increasing the price of gaming without increasing the upfront retail price of gaming. So now they've increased the retail price of gaming on top of all the other monetization schemes they've come up with as well. Look, I'm not an unreasonable person when it comes to my video games, and if a game deserves to be paid for, I'll promote that. I'll promote the crap out of that. But there's definitely an acceptable amount of how much a game is worth, and then developers and publishers just trying to suck as much money out of people as they can just for greed purposes. And I have to say that the industry does feel really, really greedy overall. We've got some out there that are still doing gamer gods work for us and as consumers and as fans. You take games like Dave the Diver. I got 55 hours out of Dave the Diver at a $20 price point, Mint Rocket's not an indie dev. We know that. But the game's a banger. $20 price point, 55 hours of gameplay, and the game was so much fun. Or Hi-Fi Rush from Tango, Shadow Drop, no promotion. $30 price point. I got about the same amount of gameplay out of that, I think. About 50 hours or something. I loved that game. That game was so much fun, so refreshing. And like I just talked about, Sony Santa Monica. Santa Monica Studios under Sony releasing DLC for Ragnarok, the Valhalla DLC, for free to say thank you to their fans and their consumers. We have some companies out there that are still taking care of us, right? And we need to promote those companies and lift them up. There are tons of indie devs out there. Tons of indie devs. And Larian, dude, with Baldur's Gate 3, there's a ton of content in that game, and you get it all just by paying for the game up front, right? They don't do any kind of monetization in that game. You get what you pay for, man. And it feels good. But there's so many others that do it the wrong way, and it feels gross. It feels like we're being taken advantage of. So again, man, like I talk about all the time, be educated. Be educated about who the good companies are, who the bad companies are. take care of those good companies that are willing to take care of us and take care of you, and don't support those bad companies like Ferret's talking about with EA, right? EA's disgusting. Nobody's going to take care of us but us. We don't have any organizations, regulatory committees that, oversees this kind of thing. It's all on us. It all falls on us. So, either you feed the beast or you don't. You let the bad ones die. Don't support them and let them die off, and support the good ones. I mean, it's really on us, right? But you got to pay attention, man. But this stuff, in the Nintendo side of things, is it's rough to see it, man. It's really rough to see it because of the fact that Nintendo just never goes down in price point, ever. So whatever they decide to charge, you're going to continue to be charged at forever. Forever. New Steam game is the number 3 highest rated game of 2023 with 95 on Metacritic. A new Steam game released last week, currently the 3rd highest rated game of 2023 with a 95 on Metacritic. Just 1 point shy of the 2 highest rated games of the year, BG3 and Tears of the Kingdom, both of which boast a score of 96. Better yet, this game is cheaper than both of those games at $20 US. What are we talking about here? Against the Storm, a dark fantasy city builder. Apparently it's very good. Not only does the game have a 95 on Metacritic, but it's an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam of over 16,000 user reviews right now. Really? Yeah, Ferret. Yeah. You are the Viceroy, a leader charged by the Scorched Queen to reclaim the wilderness and discover lost riches for the smoldering city, civilization's last bastion, against a bright storm that destroyed the old world. Reads an official description of the game on Steam. Unlike most survival city builders, where you focus on a single city, and against the storm, you must build a vast, prosperous network of settlements populated by diverse fantasy races, each with their own specializations and needs. Dude, I haven't really even heard of this.
We are viceroys, elite settlers serving the Scorched Queen.
Bro, this gives me like
job
World
is
of
to establish
not World,
colonies
but Warcraft
and gather
vibes.
precious resources.
I don't know why.
Every
Gives me, like,
settlement we
Warcraft
build
vibes.
presents new challenges. We seize opportunities and venture bravely into the unknown.
Holy moly. Sorry, I'm an idiot.
We adapt to changing conditions, and we're not afraid to experiment. Plans don't always go as expected, but we face the consequences head on.
Work, dude. That's funny, dude.
As we progress, we take on bolder challenges. Every time the Blightstorm ravages the world, we face new opportunities and new threats. Embrace your fate and stand against the storm. You're a viceroy after all.
Against the Storm. Huh. It is on Steam, Epic, GOG, and PC Game Pass. Mileage may vary with this game, but if you do check it out, be prepared for a game that has a ton of content. On average, players get anywhere from 90 to 180 hours out of the game, which is a lot for a game that's currently on sale for less than $20. Huh. Let's pull it up real quick. We've got a free demo too. Yeah, look at this, man. Very highly rated. It just came out on the 8th of December too. People are loving this, man. Strategy simulation, base building, city builder. Huh. Interesting. I'll link this for you guys. Interesting, dude. We'll have to keep track of that. That one's kind of a out of nowhere game, it looks like. That's pretty neat, man. Glad we saw this. GameStop deal features popular PS5 game for just $5. Let's see here. What are they talking about? The deals below, both of which are for brand new copies, have expired. As for the mystery games, they are 2022's The Callisto Protocol and 2021 Scarlet Nexus. Limited time discounts. Oh, this means there is a chance by the time you're reading this, deals below, both of which are for brand new copies, may have expired. But for $5 on PS5, you can get 2022's Callisto Protocol and 2021 Scarlet Nexus at GameStop. If you're interested, I'll link it. Take a look. Not a big fan of that company, but I am a fan of you guys getting deals if you can get them. 3D Realms hit with layoffs as Embracer tightens belt. More layoffs from Embracer, huh? Big surprise. Danish games publisher 3D Realms has reportedly been hit with layoffs as parent company Embracer Group executes its job-slashing cost-saving measures once again. 3D Realms is the latest video game studio to get hit with layoffs as a result of Embracer Group's aggressive cost-cutting plan. Despite making an estimated $184 billion throughout the year, 2023 has been a terrible year for some of the people who make games. The games industry has suffered over 7,000 layoffs across all disciplines as more publishers, developers, and parent companies aim to reduce spending budgets. Higher costs are eroding year-over-year profit numbers and margins, and now billion-dollar publishers and smaller-scale devs alike are pulling the layoff lever. Decentralized entrepreneur-funded Embracer Group has been hit particularly hard by layoffs. The company laid off 904 workers as of September of this year, of which 700 plus were game devs, and Embracer said more layoffs were likely. Now that's happened. Layoffs have come for Danish games publisher 3D Realms, who released the original Duke Nukem on PC. What a game. The news hasn't been made public just yet. Very few 3D Realms developers are sharing details on social media. The info was first shared by Scott Miller, who founded 3D Realms way back when. Quote, several sources have told me this bad news. Started to hear about another drop of the axe by Embracer, this time landing on Danish 3D Realms. A lot of people, including poor devs, will be looking for work ASAP. Hopefully they land jobs soon. This one hits me hard because I worked with the new 3D Realms from 2014 up until when they were bought out by Embracer 2.5 years ago. We did get confirmation of layoffs from one employee, Michael Markey, who handled music composition for 3D Realms, and Slipgate Ironworks, shared that he had been laid off shortly before the holidays. 3D Realms is currently under the purview of parent label Saber Interactive, which is one of Embracer Group's operating divisions. Yeah, Ferret. Yeah. I mean, dude, Embracer is just slaughtering a bunch of these old companies, you know? Like we've talked about before, one of the first, or one of the more notable companies that they dissolved earlier was the whole Parallax issue, right? Oh, yeah, they made a lot of stuff back in the day. Right. Parallax, which was what was their current name? They did Descent back in the day. They did Red Faction, and then more notably of recent, they did all the Saints Row games. Right? They're done. 30-year company, 30-year developer, just got dissolved by Embracer. Totally gone now. There's a lot of them. Embracer's shutting a ton of them down. Yeah. Descent. Yeah, dude, I had Descent. I had the Red Faction stuff. Granted, the most recent Saints Row game was kind of a letdown for most people, I think. But it's tough to see those companies suffering the wrath of Embracer, you know. I talk about this a lot, though, right? I mean, companies like Embracer, this is what they do. They go look for these companies that they can buy up and own outright, so that ultimately what they're after is the portfolio, right? They don't really care a whole lot. Original Shadow Warrior, there you go. Embracer has been quite obviously a company that doesn't care a whole lot over the years, and they're very quick to just shutter companies underneath them. Basically, yeah. So they buy up companies, they expand their portfolio, and they're like, well, too bad, we got to shut you guys down. They don't really give a crap, you know. They don't really care, because guess who still owns all the rights to all the portfolio of the all those IPs and everything? Embracer does, right? It's always a tough situation, I think, for us, you know, studios when they get approached to become part of a bigger organization. They probably get fed a bunch of BS smoke about, you know, we're going to take care of you guys. This is going to be a great collaboration. You're going to have so many resources at your disposal. And then they get bought out, and then what? They're not even able to work on their, you know, their own software anymore, right? Most of the time they're like put onto other projects, and the axe can come at any time. Axe can come at any time that the parent company feels like they need to, because of cost-saving measures, if you will. And that parent company doesn't care a whole lot, right? They still get to own the rights to all the games and everything. They still get to publish those bad boys, right? So it's a tough go, man. There are ins and outs to it that can create some differences there, but most of the time that's the way it works. Dota 2 is banning players by gifting them lumps of coal. This is kind of funny, dude. I like this a lot. I think this is awesome. Dota 2 is banning players in a super cheeky way. Valve is one of the most respected video game developers out there, even if they don't make brand new games on a regular basis anymore. In the 2000s, Valve was on fire and cranked out games at a rapid rate while supporting Steam. We got multiple Half-Life games, Portal, Left 4 Dead, and many others. Eventually, Valve realized it would rather invest in supporting its live service games like Dota 2, Counter-Strike, and also supporting Steam. They also made efforts to get into the hardware business with PCs, VR headsets, and perhaps its most successful device of recent, the Steam Deck. Valve is arguably one of the most successful live service video game developers out there, given games like Dota 2 and Counter-Strike are two of the most played games on Steam, despite the fact they have been out for years. Both of these games currently sit at the top of the charts and can consistently be found there. It's actually impressive when something comes out and manages to top them as a result. With all of that said, players are remembering once again why they love Dota 2 and Valve. Dota 2 currently has a Christmas-themed event going on right now, and players can earn loot boxes with random goodies inside of them. However, players have learned that sometimes these boxes contain lumps of coal, and they're not just a goofy gag gift. They actually ban you. Streamer Mason Dota 2 was on the unlucky end of this deal and opened up a chest with a lump of coal, which also informed him he had been banned for smurfing or other violations in the terms of service. Assuming it was a joke, he went to go find a new match and realized it was real, and he was truly banned. Valve has permanently banned Dota 2 streamer Mason for high levels of toxicity by getting him to open a Christmas gift, which was just a lump of coal, and his ban. Bro, that is so good. So good. Oh, yeah. COD did that. There's been some other, where they got basically that they could only play games with other cheaters and stuff, right? Yeah. Dude, check this noise out.
What did you get from the gift chest? Owned. Open gift. What did I get? What?
Look at his face.
I got banned? Until 118? What?
Bro, that's so funny, dude.
What if I just never opened it?
Yeah, if you never, that's what I was thinking too.
Are they serious?
So what makes this all the better is this is a Christmas event in Dota 2. It's called Frostivus, and everyone has a chance to open this bag, and some people have a chance to get cosmetics. Others, though, Valve has now established a variety of reasons to give them bans, and yes, the users who are getting bans are finding out
No
by
way.
opening something they thought was going to be a gift.
Yeah,
in this
basically
case,
it's
Mason is
like
also a
they
former pro,
know
and
that
his
like you're a
gift
high level player
permanent
and you'll
ban
go
from
play
Dota
on like
2
a they
for
call
a
it like a
high level of
Smurf account,
toxicity.
right? You'll see it a lot in games, highly competitive games. You'll see Rocket League. It happens a lot in like Rocket League, stuff like that. They'll go in and basically play on a fresh account, and they just throttle people because their skill level's so flipping high, right? Yeah, and that's what you'll like call people out for smurfing. Be like, dog, there's no way you belong in this rank. You know, it's like quite obvious. Like, you're smurfing hard, dog. You know, like everybody calls out Pinky for, you know, when he plays TF2. It's like, you flipping smurf, you pink smurf. Thought Smurfs were supposed to be blue, bro. That's actually hilarious, Doug. It's a pretty clever way for Valve to hand out Dota 2 bans. Most games would just give you a straightforward error message. Valve went the extra mile to really humiliate those who aren't getting banned in a festive way. Whether or not Mason Dota 2 will be unbanned is unclear. Pretty hilarious method of banning people. Agreed. I think that what they would need to do too, though, is put a timer on the box so that it gets opened automatically if you haven't opened it yourself after a certain number of logins or something, right? Yeah, there you go, Pinky. Yeah. So, smurfing would be a negative for me. Yeah, I'm just messing with you, dog. So that's pretty funny. I think that, you know, that's one of the things I thought right away too was like, well, what if they just never opened it? But that's what they would need to do is put it like a timer on it, or like some kind of threshold of like if this account's logged in so many times, you know, without opening this gift, it opens automatically on their next login, so they get the ban no matter what, you know. But that's really creative, dude. I like that a lot. That's really, really neat. I love it, man. Yeah, that's funny. Cool, man. That's the news. You guys rock. Let's we'll get prepared for playing some more BG3 with our buddy Pinky for the rest of the day. If anybody's been able to hang out this morning, check out the video gaming news segment. You're not familiar with what we do. This is, or if you're even seeing this as a VOD later on, then this is the way we start out all of our streams. Always kicking it off 6 days a week. No Wednesday streams. Wednesdays are our day off, but we start at roughly 6 a.m. CST CDT. Kick it off with video gaming news. Try to stay current on what's going on in the industry, the world of video games, and then we move on and play games for the rest of the day, like we're about to do right now. So, I don't know. You can go check out all the previous video gaming news segments we've done. I try to make sure that all of our previous content is out there on the Twitch channel, the YouTube channel, whether it be video gaming news segments that we've done previously, the gameplay playthroughs we've done, funny clips and highlights, all that stuff. So go check it out. If you're enjoying this or any of that other content, then I'd prompt you to come hang out with us, man. We got an awesome community of people here that just love video games. We like, video games brings us together, but we got a great group of people, man, that take care of one another, try to be void of toxicity, welcoming, inclusive, All we really care about is people just be good people, dude. Be civil about things, you know. Take care of one another, lift one another up. Try to be a place where people can come and know that they're gonna be respected and have a good time and not have to worry about toxicity and nasty people being bullied or anything like that. So if you can dig it, man, come be a part of it. We're always looking for more people, good people, to be a part of what we do. Other than that, happy flipping Sunday. Hope everybody's weekend's going well. Stay healthy, stay safe, be kind. We'll be back tomorrow, December 18th, with more video gaming news. The stream's not going down. I'm going to run us an outro real quick just to kind of sum up the news segment here, video gaming news segment. But as soon as it's over, we'll get prepared for starting to play Baldur's Gate 3 for the rest of the day, all right? That's right now after the break. Don't put that juju on us, Ferret. Don't you put that juju on us. But I like that Kappa Ross there. That's true. You're not wrong. I don't even know what to think with the Kappa Ross, you know? Bump, but don't bump.